I am a huge fan of Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, let's just get that out of the way because, I mean, think about it. Think about all the movies he's done. He's done the Godfather saga. He did The Conversation. He did Apocalypse Now. He did The Outsiders. He did one of my favorites, Bram Stoker's Dracula. So, yeah, dude is a Hall of Fame director. No question. No question. So, when I heard that he was putting up a ton of money, some say up to $140 million to finish this movie, I had to see it. I had to see it because I'm a huge fan. So how was Megalopolis? I got to see this on September 23rd, a full 4 days early at a special IMAX screening. And the reason that it was special is for two reasons. Number one, it was going to be preceded by a special Q&A that was going to be live streamed across the country in, like, I think they said 66, 67 theaters. I'm not sure the number. But yeah, it's going to have Francis Ford Coppola. It's going to have Robert De Niro. It's going to have Spike Lee. I'm like, hey, this is going to be cool. And I get to see this in IMAX because nowhere around me was going to have this movie in IMAX. So I wanted to see it. And it was about 30 to 35 minutes. And we got to see altogether like 6 to 7 minutes of it. Now, I took some video of this. And yeah, the aspect ratio kept changing. And then it would just cut out for minutes at a time. Sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then it would come back and the audio would be super loud and jarring. And most of the time it just, it looked fine, but then it just went black. And so we were all sitting there and it was actually kind of, it's kind of representative of the whole experience for me. You got to know that there was some people behind the scenes probably just pulling their hair out because they couldn't get this to work. And apparently this was the way it was across the country. So all of the problems were at the source. So the only people that got to see the full Q&A were the people that were there in attendance. And I think that was in New York. And, I'm sure this will be on the Blu-ray or the 4K or something like that. But yeah, it was tough. So how was the movie? Well, let's start with the actors. Okay. And there are a ton. I'm going to put a full list in the description if you want to see the full list of actors, but it's insane. There's so many actors. I don't want to take the time to list them, but I do want to mention a couple of people in particular. Adam Driver and Aubrey Plaza. They do things in this movie that were way different than what I'd ever seen from them. But I gotta say, all of them across the board, they did a fine job. They did exactly what they were asked to do, and some of it was very strange and. Yeah, they did a good job though. I want to make that clear. The production design, the cinematography, the costume design, art design, everything was just top notch technically. Technically, the movie is pretty flawless. And there's some really cool shots. Like there's some camera moves and some zooms that I was just like, "Oh wow, that's really impressive stuff." So, in a weird way, as a film fan, I was kind of geeking out. And it was kind of fun. Very like beautifully crafted scenes. The problem is the story. And I mean, I hate to say this, but it's borderline unintelligible at times. Like seriously. I mean, have you ever tried to tell somebody a dream that you had, like in detail? You see the look on their face? That's kind of how I felt. To me, this is the very definition of a vanity project. In fact, there's a scene where he uses his own name in a way, I'll just say it got laughs in the audience. Yeah. But what makes it really frustrating are there's some beautifully written lines and some scenes that are really effective. Like there's some scenes that I really like. And that sucks because it's surrounded by some of the most confusing stuff. It just seems to all be going to waste. There doesn't seem to be a narrative in the whole script. It feels like, in a lot of ways, it feels like you're watching some art student's project, or thesis or something, and it's like a tone poem at times where it's just glimpses of things. And you're just like, what is going on here? Oh, and the whole live participant, where there's a scene where, what's on screen is interacting with the person in the audience. It's not really an interaction. It's I gotta say, it's gimmicky. It was just gimmicky, and I don't know. It wasn't really that effective to me. It just felt like a gimmick. And I don't know if they're going to do like a voiceover, in future showings of this movie, or even like when it comes to, home video, whether it's on streaming or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, or if it's going to be like Mystery Science Theater 3000 where there's a guy that pops up. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah, apparently these screenings, the screening tonight, that's the last time it's going to be done. So, at least with a live person. The story goes that Francis had some real trouble finding distribution for this movie, and I can see why. I mean, how do you market a heavy-handed political manifesto with a slight sci-fi setting and doesn't have a real narrative? You got me. So look, here's the deal. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I saw it in IMAX because visually it is very impressive, technically impressive, but that's really about all I got. It's not, to me, it's not an effective story. And it just, it feels meandering. There's all kinds of problems. But look, there are going to be plenty of people like me who, because they're fans of Francis Ford Coppola, they've heard the stories, they've read the news articles, they've seen the interviews. Yeah, they're going to have to see this, right? But for everybody else, I can't recommend it. So, Megalopolis. I mean, look, like I said, Francis, Hall of Fame director, but this was, wow, not just it didn't work for me. I'll just say that. So, have you seen it, or are you wanting to see it? I want to talk about this movie. So, let's talk about it in the comment section. I mean, that's what it's for, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.